Hello and welcome to another album analysis. In today's video we're taking a look at the 7th studio album from the British rock band Enter Shikari titled A Kiss for the Whole World. This is the follow-up to their 2020 album Nothing Is True and Everything Is Possible. Since then the world has taken on a bit of a change and the band have been feeling like they've been a little bit stuck. Certainly Rao Reynolds, who due to COVID felt like he was really stuck. He's somebody who really prides himself on being able to share his music on a live stage. That's what the band have always done throughout their career, and because of the global pandemic he certainly kind of struggled with taking a 2-year hiatus from songwriting because he didn't feel the energy or the need or the ability to write songs. Because of that though, the band have gone on to release an album that vomits positivity with a tinge of moral conscience. It really covers some really strong topics and some strong meanings which the band have always done, but it really feels like one of the most upbeat albums the band have ever released. Just pure positivity thrown in on a number of tracks and really just showing it in bucket loads. So will it prove to be an album that can kiss the world and brighten up its day? Let's take a look at it track by track. Opening the album we do have the title track with the little X put on the end just to give a kiss to the whole world, and this is a beautiful way to open up an album. It really invokes this feeling of triumph through brass and fanfare, and it's a track that talks very heavily about inclusivity and pulling everybody together, really bringing everyone together, certainly the world, and uniting under one front. And it really does show this through a lot of feel-good features that the song does have. These really poppy, bouncy elements that really do put a smile on your face, and it's a song that really just does purely invoke feelings of joy. They talk about Symphony No. 9, which is Beethoven's Ode to Joy, and no matter what state you may be in, this song will certainly turn your day around and put a smile on your face. Whether it be season 3 of your favourite series getting cancelled or your dog eating your homework, no matter what bad thing happens in your day, this song will certainly just put you on your feet, put a smile on your face and give you the energy to tackle the day. One other feature they do make great use of is using this almost like childlike backing vocal that really just shows that idea as well of pulling everybody together, making it feel like it is a song that tries to include everybody around the world, and a variety of lyrics that show that as well, including the opening line, "Be embraced billions," so that just shows that it's trying to unite everybody under one front. Then we do move into Please Set Me On Fire, the first single we did get to hear from this album, with its much more soaring sound and this organised chaos that we do have from the band. There's lots of quick, dotted, scattered sounds that really shouldn't feel like they actually fit together, but somehow Shikari always do this. They make the most random sounds fit together like a jigsaw and become very cohesive. The track also shows this real outpouring of energy. It's the first song that Rao actually wrote for this album, and it was when that mental block was finally cleared and just this spark became a flame. Just really lots of great positive energy being pushed through on this track, and it's great to see Chris Batten also assisting with the vocals a bit more, really getting to, rather than be backing vocal, almost assist and working with Rao to kind of provide that really strong deeper tone to some of these songs. We do also get treated to a couple of other funky elements from this very Zumba sounding bass that is brought, and really just some quick dotted synths that really just give the song some pace and some real energy to kind of make it have this bigger global feel to it. In at track 3 we do have It Hurts, a song about this idea of tackling adversity, really facing it head on, that life is not a simple ride. And it does include a couple of really interesting things, this typical dance track melody that we do see in a lot of dance music, the duh, 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 and it's just really used to help give it a lot of pace. We just have some really beautiful vocals again from Chris, really just invoking this idea of maybe Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode with these deeper tones, working alongside Rao and getting a bit more time to almost come across as a bit more of a lead vocalist as opposed to backing. We'd also get this really interesting distorted break in the middle of the track that kind of takes us a little bit back to something like the Minesweep era, so great to see the real variety of sounds that they do show through across the course of this album. Next up we do have Leap Into Lightning. I'm going to include Feed Your Soul with this because they have included a few tracks that are almost like outros to some of the songs, and this has this really quick sharp guitar intro into more dubstep-esque sounds. It's a really weird but interesting mix. We'd also get this spoken section, a bit like a proclamation, something that the band have done across a number of albums, really to kind of give Rao this ability to sound like he's kind of on a soapbox proclaiming to the world, which he really loves to do. And some great lyrics as well. Sail your ships into Bermuda. It's almost about this idea of when you've got a difficulty in life, you can't just sit back and wait for everything to blow over. You've got to charge straight on into it, no matter how dangerous it may feel or how scary it may be. So a really simple way of showing that, and it gives off these really interesting backing vocals as well, we've got later in the track, they almost kind of invoke this idea of something that you'd see on a lot of Don Brocco tracks. So they definitely have taken inspiration, I think, from a couple of other ideas from other bands that are in a similar genre. Rob also provides some brilliant drums on this track, really hitting them that bit harder. They act like crashing thunder, and for a song that's about leaping into lightning, it really does work. And then towards the outro, we do move into Feed Your Soul. And I don't mind that they've included a couple of these tracks separately to the actual songs, even though they do are like continuations. It's the one thing this does is it stops you from really putting the album on shuffle. This is an album you want to listen to from start to finish, track by track, not mess it around. And this is one thing that really stops people from doing that, because it would sound very disjointed. Plonk straight in the middle, we do have Deadwood with this more symphonic sound opening with strings and really interesting elements. I did unfortunately feel this is probably the weakest track on this album. Even after hearing it a few times, it wasn't a song that really grabbed me, despite having some really cool lyrics and referencing to a lot of other things. Please set me on fire, nothing is true. These lyrics are really used to tie to a lot of other Shikari songs, and it does make great references to things revolving around the idea of wood axe, split, and wooden heart. Lots of really great uses there, but we do get this really nice build throughout the track with it, as it builds into these harmonized vocals and really elevates the levels towards the end. But unfortunately, when you get to the end of this song, you don't really feel like it's that memorable as a whole, and it's certainly one that just doesn't quite stand out as strongly on the album. Next up, we do have Jailbreak, a song that's all about breaking out of your own mind. Stop holding yourself back. And I love the way they act around this idea of your mind being a prison. It's so simple to understand, really easy to access, and it has a very hard, gritty energy in the opening. And again, Chris, I've got to give him credit. He does some beautiful work on this album, certainly with the bass on this. At one point, it kind of has this very Cure styling. This does have a bit of an 80s sound to it, and it really comes through more from him. And again, just this idea of linking back to other lyrics. Back at the Dreamers Hotel is included as one of the lines. We also have this great spoken section with backing vocals and a really strong build, very similar to songs we saw on A Flash Flood of Colour, such as Gandhi Mate Gandhi. Next up, we do have tracks 8 and 9, Bloodshot plus Bloodshot Coda. So again, another one of these little outros to the track. A song all about authenticity, duplicity, and our unwillingness to question things. And I love the meaning behind this track, and it's certainly become much more relevant over recent weeks when we've seen the rise of AI songs and things like that. The idea of not really knowing whether something is real or not, and they really explore this through a very smart set of lyrics, and it's something that Rao has always done, really just delved into some strong songwriting, and we see lots of references to eyes being bloodshot, to your field of vision, this idea of filters as well, so some strong songwriting that really does shine through on this particular song. I've lost sight of what is real, have you noticed that you're going under? So really using the idea of us being hypnotized by social media. I mean, even the music video for this track was shot as if it was supposed to be watched on a phone. So talking about the idea of social media really taking over, and it has these really quick, flashy, blaring sounds to almost emphasize the idea that you are being hypnotized, almost like you're being put under a spell. And again, the coda really doesn't feel particularly necessary, but I think it's something that they're going to use quite a lot in live shows. I think it's going to be used as a little bit of an interlude, maybe between tracks, or they've got some ideas they're going to do with it there. It doesn't feel like it's necessary on the album, but I'm not going to complain too much, because I know that's something that a lot of bands are doing now, using these little snippets of sounds in live shows more, and that's what Shikari is through and through. They are ultimately a live band. Then we swim into track 10, which is goldfdựsh, which sees Rao really take on the idea of this powerful leader, and that is shown through the music, these really big sounds that almost kind of emphasize this idea of power being brought through, which is really smart to see the way they do that with these blaring sounds. And I love some of the lyrics again. You are under my control, swimming in circles. So in this point, we are looking at the people that are the goldfish almost, and they put that perspective through the track on the ringer pretty much constantly. This idea of you're going around in circles, the idea of doing the same thing, you're just swimming in an endless ocean because you're not aware that you are being controlled by somebody that's more powerful. So I really do like that, and especially the lyric, when people feel powerless they rarely resist. So it's this idea of trying to rise up from the chains that are holding you down. If you feel like you're quite powerless, you aren't. You are much more powerful than you probably realize. So really strong messaging that does come through in this song. Then rounding out the album, we do have the Giant Octopus combo, starting off with Giant Pacific Octopus, I Don't Know You Anymore. It really opens with this raucous spacious energy and this stabbing guitar, and then it goes into this really interesting quick electronic sound. It sounds very similar to the intro to Attack by 30 Seconds to Mars. It was certainly what I picked up on first time I heard it, and it talks about the idea of hiding behind masks and not showing our true selves, this idea that people can have multiple personalities. So it kind of makes reference to the idea of a chameleon. So it's this idea with a giant Pacific Octopus, you're not something that you actually seem to be. So it's quite smart the way they did actually tie that in through the use of the lyrics, and it's certainly a very enticing title for the track because it really pulls you and you think, well, I want to know what this sounds like, I want to understand exactly what this is. And I just love the way that it explores that idea because it's something we've seen countless times again and again, this idea of people not effectively being real. I mean, it ties in with the idea of Bloodshot, this idea of fakeness, this lack of authenticity. So another song that does that, not quite on the same level as Bloodshot, but certainly looks at it through more the idea of people kind of having multiple personalities, being a chameleon that's able to change depending on who they're with. And finally, to round out, we do have Giant Pacific Octopus swirling off into infinity, which is a nice close, a nice soft close to the album. Really just this idea of these lapping waves at the end. So I don't mind when bands use a very soft outro. It really just works just to kind of calm that energy down a little bit after what's been a very energetic album full of raucous power, very heavy energy through most of the tracks, maybe aside from Deadwood, which didn't have as much power behind it, but it's just really does show through the amount of effort, the amount of energy that the band have really put into this album. So overall, I'm going to give this album a very deserved 8 out of 10. The only thing that really I feel let this album down was Deadwood. That song just didn't feel like it was quite as memorable as many of the others, and I wasn't massively overly keen on the use of these constant sort of 1-minute tracks used as outros. So really you're only actually maybe getting 9 tracks on the album, so 8 of them very, very strong. I can't really fault most of the tracks on this album. They really do bring a strong energy, that very Shikari mix of sounds there. They can play around and do almost whatever they want, and ultimately I feel like the standout on this album has got to be Chris. Like just his work with the vocals, with the bass. It's very rare that a bass player gets to shine in the way that he does on an album, and he really does deserve credit, as do the whole band for what's a fantastic release. And I'm glad to see that outpouring of energy and emotion and that uplifting sound really proving fruitful for the band, and I'm very excited to see how some of these songs are going to sound live. So that will be everything for today's video, but please let me know your rating out of 10 in the comments section. I certainly have a feeling this is an album I'm going to be playing on repeat. I'm not going to be put off by the fact that I'm just not overly keen on Deadwood. The rest of the album is absolutely fantastic. I mean, especially for me, my favourite has got to be the opener, A Kiss for the Whole World. I love that pure triumph, joy and energy that it brings to the album, but certainly songs such as Jailbreak is a fantastic track that is included, and as well as Bloodshot as well. Them two kind of next to each other on this album are a really strong duo and bring out a lot of energy and really showing that on the album. Also, if you would like to see more content like this, I have covered a number of the singles from this album in previous videos, so I will put them in the description below. And if you enjoy this kind of content, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next album analysis.